This is probably my biggest success at a permaculture design on my own property here at Interdependent Web. This is a succession planting. In other words, the word is used in two different ways in gardening. If you plant the same thing multiple times, that's called a succession planting, but what I'm talking about here is ecological succession. In other words, the ecosystem is designed to mature over time rather than being set back to an immature state every year or even every few years. So at the center of this is a pear tree. Theoretically, it's never bloomed, but it's supposed to be a pear tree. It's been here 5 years. It was probably 3 years old when we got it and really should have had a bloom by now. But the point was to have pears and in the meantime to have other crops that we could harvest, which is great. I'm really glad that we did that because we haven't got any pears. So in addition to the pear tree, at the same time we planted raspberries, which obviously didn't produce anything the first year, but have produced quite a bit since then. And we are in for quite a crop later on this spring, later this summer. So we have raspberries, we have strawberries, and again the strawberries are well on their way to producing a good crop this year. Another perennial crop is chocolate mint, which doesn't sound like something that we would necessarily sell very much of, but we actually have had quite a lot of success selling that at the farmer's market, both fresh and dried. What we do is make an iced tea out of it usually, give samples of the iced tea away, sweetened with local honey, and people buy the mint by the bag. Here's an example of some strawberries on the way. So they're looking good. They're pretty green right now, but give them a couple weeks. Comfrey. There's comfrey all over the place, but I planted it in the corners of this garden to help bring up micronutrients from the subsoil. So I use that as mulch later on in the year. The strawberries and the mint are pretty well fighting it out right now. We've got mint on one side and strawberries on the other side, and they both do a pretty good job of covering the ground. But in addition to planting those perennial crops, the first year I also used this as an annual garden. So this started out as a sheet mulch that was actually in the backyard, but when we had to have the sewer excavated, we physically picked up and moved the sheet mulch, which was just on top of the grass, moved that to the front yard and covered the grass here instead. So we have about 200 square feet that was originally sheet mulch, and that was in August of 2008. The mulch matured, broke down, and we had a good crop of annuals in 2009. And then the annuals, of course, did not come back except for garlic, which self-seeded. So we have some garlic growing here, as well as leeks and green onions, bunching onions. But most of the annuals did not come back, and the perennials gradually took over, and we've had a succession from the annuals the first year to strawberries the second year, raspberries dominant from the third year on. So I'm hoping the raspberries will continue to spread and make a good understory underneath this pear tree, and eventually we should get some pears to crown the whole thing off. So I've been very pleased with this whole planting. One thing that I have added, last year I added some horseradish, and the jury's still out about whether that'll be useful. I planted that because I know someone who has had that as his primary cash crop for many years, and it sounds pretty very easy to grow. Not so easy to process, but very easy to grow. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, so this is my biggest success to date. There is a plastic border surrounding this garden that takes some enforcement because this is Bermuda grass and it loves to spread. But whenever I harvest the grass, that's more green matter for the compost. Thanks for watching.